whoever the Jets take will ultimately wind up being the bust. So I guess ultimately it really doesn't matter.
I don't know who's going to, but Jeff, I don't know that the Jets know who's going to.
Bailey going 2 overall would be very helpful to making some money on Thursday.
If that happens, the Bears going to be a happy man. Bear Best Podcast is back. NFL Draft Preview Edition. Joined, as always, by Sammy P, and the only one of us three to actually be drafted in the National Football League, Geoff Schwartz. Jeff, I heard you on our colleague Will Hill's podcast the other day. You got a very funny story about when you were picked.
Yeah, so it was a long day, guys. Like, look, they tell you not to watch the draft. I didn't watch the first day. Back then, I'm old, so that was 2 days. Saturday, draft 1 and 2, and then Sunday, the next 5 rounds. So they told me, hey, don't watch the draft. I was okay. Didn't watch the first 2 rounds. In the first 2 rounds, 10 offensive tackles were taken. There were 8, I think, in day 1, and to be round 1 and 2 in round 2. So I thought to myself, I'm kind of anywhere between.
You're going early. I'm going earlier than I think the premium
best offensive tackle. And my agent was very honest. He's like, you're going 4th to 6th round. So what did my dummy self do, right? Woke up at 5:45 a.m. on the West Coast, went into my dad's office. We only had 2 TVs in my parents' house at that time, my dad's office and family room. I got on the futon and watched the draft. The 3rd round, the 4th round, no calls, no name being called. 5th round, started getting some calls from coaches like, hey, man, we really like you. I turned to find out that's more about recruiting me for an undrafted free agent. 6th round rolls around. I'm like, what is happening here? We went out for a walk. I played basketball outside to distract myself and picked 241, sitting back on the couch. And Brandon Beane calls with the Carolina Panthers. At that time, that was his job. And he said to me, basically like, are you excited to be drafted? And I said to him, at this point, I don't even care. And he said, welcome to the Carolina Panthers. But look, to be fair, Bear, I had a deal in place to go be a Giant as an undrafted free agent. Like that was already done. So I was ready to go to New York. I canceled our draft party. Like after the draft, we had a celebration that had been canceled. Like the day Sammy was absolutely ruined. And then I got drafted by the Panthers. I thought played in Raleigh, North Carolina, because I didn't know Charlotte existed.
You were like Red in Shawshank Redemption. At this point, yes. Sonny, you just do whatever you got to do and stop wasting my time. I don't even care.
Parole. Don't even care. I was. And then obviously my life changed, but I thought the Panthers played in Raleigh. I'm from Los Angeles. Like I didn't know that like Charlotte was like really I knew there was a city of Charlotte, but I just thought you played in your capital, I guess, right? Like so it was quite an adventure for me. But yes, I did get drafted 241. I still go back and look at everyone drafted ahead of me and laugh about how many guys have had longer careers than. I'm still that petty.
My memory is a little cloudy. If I go back into the Wayback Machine on bigmansports.net, I don't think they had an over-under bear on Geoff Schwartz back in the day.
I don't think they over-under 182.5, the pick number, maybe. I would have gone under, Jeff.
That would have been high. I think that would have been high for my draft slot. Look, you get drafted. It's so funny because we're going to hear this on Saturday, okay, after day 3 is over. You're going to hear this idea that players would rather be undrafted free agents and choose their own location than get drafted. I think that's actually incorrect. Okay. I think it's a fun thing to say, but in reality, a team that drafts you feels more connection to you than a team that doesn't draft you. I saw that firsthand. I saw the 7th round pick, how they treated me versus guys that were undrafted. And they draft you, and you might look. Undrafted free agents might get to choose a better place to go based on depth chart and all those things. But again, you're not drafted, right? There's a
you hear your name called on the stage. Correct. And
well, at that point you don't. It's pick 241. They just do that scroll with like 5 names at a time. But
they still announce it at the like the audio does exist. Maybe you don't hear it, but
yeah, it does exist. But like just the teams, they value you more if they draft you. So I hope everyone, has the best of luck come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's a really fun experience, and hopefully don't watch it, guys. Just that's my biggest advice. Do not watch a draft.
Well, two guys that are not going to have to wait very long to hear their name called. Like, we're not even going to talk about Fernando Mendoza going number one. We know that's happening. The draft begins at 2, and it seems like there's been, I don't know if it's waffling. I don't know if it's misinformation. I don't know if it's Jets' ineptitude and indecision to do anything, but we've gone back and forth. Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, and there just seems to be conflicting things out there. So I don't know if draft nicks are being used by the Jets to try and get this narrative out there that maybe they want Bailey so there could be a trade. I don't know. But we now see a move as of the time we're recording this on Tuesday about 4 o'clock that David Bailey has now become, again, the slight favorite to be picked number 2 ahead of Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese was like as long as like minus 290, I think it's circa the other day. So there's some pretty wild moves here in this number 2 overall market, Sammy. I know you just tweeted you like both guys to go second.
I like Reese and Bailey to go number 2. Yeah, at this point, don't think that's gonna shake its way out. Can I bet that 2 guys to go number 2 overall? The price on that would be interesting. Look, I mean, a lot of these markets have been bet for 3-4 weeks now, and it used to be longer. The draft markets used to go up like mid-March, and now they go up much later, and the volume is much lower. Obviously, I bet David Bailey plus 250 like a month ago. And I've done nothing else with it. I didn't do anything on Reese. And at this point, like now that Bailey's back to the favorite, I also don't feel the rush to go in and bet the other side. Like I'm good with my position. I don't know who's going to, but Geoff, I don't know that the Jets know who's going to. So clearly people in the media are being used like a turnstile right now. And we love Todd McShay. I had to bust his balls a little bit, but it's like, you got one guy going here on the 15th and the 16th, and the 17th, you got another guy, and then the 18th, you're sure it's that guy, and the 19th, it's the first guy. He's being told that.
Right.
Like, he's not making this up, and this is the problem with betting the draft. Agents lie, coaches lie, general managers lie, and then owners get involved. Night of the draft, oh, I want that guy. So it's chaos. You got to get the best number, and you got to make the right bet at the right time.
I did radio this morning as we record this on the 21st, and we were talking about this this morning. Reese was minus 300 to be the second pick at this morning at 6:30 a.m. He's now no longer the favorite. These markets move so fast, and they get the same information we do. There's no inside information. It's not like the Jets are going around telling everyone, hey, guys, it's David Bailey. It's just the stuff. It's Todd McShay. It's Daniel Jeremiah. It's Peter Schrager. These guys just putting the information out there, and then us going ahead and wager and making those wagers. Look, I have a guy who's very plugged in. Years ago, he gave me Travon Walker a month before the draft. I hit it rich with him. I took Hutchinson to go second that draft. Good draft. He told me a month ago. I told you guys this. I think it's why we have all the same number on Bailey. That Bailey's going second overall. Same as Sammy. That's the position I have. Got 3-1. I'm sticking with it. I'm not changing, Bear. That's what I got. If Reese goes 2, he goes 2. There's a chance. We talk about this. Will even had a tweet about it. Like, there's a chance that a draft breaks out a certain way. I make $0. I lose all my money. But Bailey going 2 overall would be very helpful to making some money on Thursday.
Yeah, the Jets fan in me hopes it's Reese. I would rather have Reese. I think the upside is there a little bit more with Reese. I think he's going to be a better pro. But all I know is this: whoever the Jets take will ultimately wind up being the bust. So I guess ultimately it really doesn't matter. So that leads us to the third pick, and there is a lot of drama around this pick as well. Again, no one really knows. And Sammy, you mentioned owners get involved, and there probably is no bigger example of that this year than at pick 3 with the Arizona Cardinals. I told you guys March 11th, I think it was. Man, it might even been sooner than that. Well, whenever the combine was, that afterwards that the Cardinals loved Jeremiyah Love. I had a contact who was with members of the Cardinals organization staff, and they could not stop raving about him. And the question was, can you really take him third overall? And I guess that's probably the situation right now. I am under the understanding, based on what I heard this morning, that if they stay at 3, they are going to take Jeremiyah Love at 3. Whether that is a bluff and they want that out there, who knows? So stay at 3, take Jeremiyah Love, or get an offer for the 3rd pick for a team to come up and take either Alvaro Reese or David Bailey, whoever the Jets don't take. That's probably the situation that the Cardinals are going to be in, and I am fascinated to see what ultimately winds up happening, to see if this information that I've gotten for weeks and months about Jeremiyah Love potentially going to Arizona, Sammy, is actually true, or if it's smoke.
Well, the market disagrees. The market at Circa in Vegas, and they take, relatively big bets compared to some shops where you can't get down $20. I know we've been struggling with that. Jeff's been complaining. He's like, I got $18 on this guy. Circa's at 5.5 on Love, and that's the high side. And Jeff Benson, I was texting with the other day. He was actually in Hawaii, Bear, on vacation. But I said, this is for Bear bets. So he put down his Lappert's ice cream.
Very nice.
He texted me, no love for Love from the Wise Guys. So the Wise Guys were betting over. They bet the 4.5 over, and now Circa's at 5.5. DraftKings is 5.5. However, FanDuel and MGM are at 4.5. So you could shoot that middle. I'm not suggesting you do that. And then our friend Will Hill, we're about to tape the show, goes, hey, my guy likes Love to go exactly 5th. So you hear whatever you want to hear. If you're in the middle of getting information, more information comes out and spins you right back around. So I personally, this morning, Tuesday morning, have a little Jeremiyah Love over 4.5 plus 150, Circa at 5.5. And then the owner gets involved and they take him 3rd. So I need him to go 5 or higher. Bear, do you have anything like 3rd exactly?
Yes,
overall?
I do. I have 3rd exactly. And I also have a very big position on top 5. The person who told me about the Arizona thought said the thought is that Arizona will take him at 3 if they stay put. If Arizona trades out of 3, his floor is 5. So we'll see ultimately what happens here, Jeff.
I think this would be a very, what's the right word to use? Unwise pick for the Cardinals at 3 if they were to take Love. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it didn't make any sense last year for the Raiders to take Genty at 6
correct.
either.
It's the same principle, right? It's that, like, you don't have an offensive line or quarterback to utilize this player. Why would you draft him? You have a much better chance to use Reese or Styles or someone like that on defense. You can play right now and make your defense much better. Love can't do his job with that offensive line they have, with the quarterback they have. You're wasting years of his career trying to build a quarterback and offensive line around him. I would draft a defensive player. Obviously, they would love to trade out of this. If Bailey is there at 3, I think they do get calls for Bailey, like to trade up to 3 in Dallas, or someone trades up for Bailey. And then it's certainly possible. But I would just draft Reese. I draft Reese or Styles and be done with it if I was Arizona. I just think that those are players you need now to help you now. And the running back is a luxury pick for teams that have everything in place that need a running back. The Giants, if Andrew Thomas comes back, like, the offensive line is not bad in New York. You have Jackson Dart. If you want to draft Jeremiyah Love, be my guest. Arizona's not in position to draft Jeremiyah. Plus, the Giants, by the way, had pick 10, right?
Yep.
So they can take Jeremiyah Love and someone else at 10. So they have the option to do that. I don't think that the Cardinals are in a position to take a running back, Bear. I have nothing on Love's position right now. And I saw some mocks with either the Chiefs have him at 9. I'd denounce my fandom if he gets to 9. So I think that I'll stay away from the market, but I wish you win your wager. I don't see it happening.
Well, here's a quick counter to remember. Dumb teams do dumb things.
Absolutely.
It's why the Cardinals and the Jets, and it used to be the Lions, used
and
to
the
be
Raiders,
the Bears, the Titans. I mean, the Jets have picked in the top 10 for what feels like ever. So just because they shouldn't do it doesn't mean they won't do it. And, like, look, Bear and I one of us is going to lose that bet. Either Bear's going to hit that 3rd overall, or I'm going to hit that 4.5 over. However, if he goes 5, you'll hit top 5, and I'll hit over 4.5. But dumb teams do dumb things, and that's the most. It's the worst part about the draft, because you make a good bet, and then some stupid team does something stupid.
Correct. You cannot handicap your draft based on you thinking one thing is going to happen, and then everything else kind of falls into place out of that, because then if you lose that one bet, you lose everything else. And that was the example of my Anthony Richardson draft a few years ago when Richardson went way higher than he should have. Okay, so now we get to 4. And again, information, true, false, who knows? I was told that the Titans are taking a defensive player at 4. I don't know if that will be Orville Reese. I don't know if that will be David Bailey. I don't know if that will be Sonny Styles, who, Jeff, someone said to me that could be a Fred Warner type player for Robert Saleh and that defense. But I am told that if Jeremiyah Love is available at 4, after whatever happens at 3, the Titans are not taking him. The Titans are locked in taking a defender. So I think you can get some good prices on Styles to go to Tennessee or to be the 4th overall pick in the draft. That might be something that you might want to look into and play right now.
So this is the sort of an interesting decision for the Titans, right? Because a first-year coach really needs to work on making sure that their side of the ball is fixed, right? This is my take about Aaron Glenn shouldn't be the Jets coach anymore, because in year 1, he didn't fix the defense, right? Didn't fix the defense. You look at Ben Johnson, he fixed the offense in year 1, right? Now year 2, you build up.
Should have been in the NFC Championship game.
Right. You build up defense in year 2 in Chicago, right? And that's what they're doing, right? Chicago will draft a defender, 25 or whatever, and they're done in free agency and trades and whatnot. And so Robert Saleh's got to figure out, am I going to get the defense better in year 1? But I have Cam Ward, though, and that's a wild card, right? Because at 4, if Jeremiyah Love is there, do we have the need for him at 4? I think Styles fits, to be unfair, what Robert Saleh wants to do in defense in year 1. He's an incredible player. Sammy, that would lead to basically, again, like the quarterback, the pass rusher, 2 linebackers, and then we'd have Love at 5. I think that if it's a way to bet the first 5 picks, that feels like you can, likely, I think. The draft is never certain, obviously, but Styles going 4 does make a lot of sense.
There's going to be a trade. You know it, and I know it. I'm not calling my shot, but it's like, somebody's going to make a trade at 3 and then blow up the whole draft and run all of our bets. Very, very possible. The current favorite to go 4th overall at both BetMGM and DraftKings is Jeremiyah Love. So just throwing that out there. Again, we've already talked about how we feel about Love. And I did notice of the big 3, DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, nobody has a market up on what position the Titans will take first. A lot of the teams are up there. Like most books have 15, 20 teams. None of the books have the Titans up. So if the books don't know, who knows, guys? Right. Who knows?
That'll be it. I did see a market on Kalshi, and I am not afraid to promote the prediction markets. This is a place where people are able to get down. If the legals don't want to post a lot of it, these prediction markets will. And I would look there because you can do but again, does that mean they take the edge or do they take a linebacker? You got to obviously differentiate yourself. And then we get to pick 5. And there is voila. I think the Giants could be in a position where Jeremiyah Love is there. And I think that is his floor. I think if he is there at 5, you've got a Giants offense that would have, like you said, Jeff, Jackson Dart, Neighbors coming back from injury. You've got Scadaboo already, but you add Jeremiyah Love there, the offensive line, like you mentioned, coming back. At pick 10, you could probably get your choice of wide receiver, one of the 3 of Tate, Lemon, or Tyson, and have an opportunity to take one of those guys there as well. The Giants could wind up being in an unbelievable position in this draft. You can get some really good numbers on Love to go to the Giants right around 5-1 to be that pick number 5 overall. So I've really talked myself into Mendoza 1, Reese Bailey 2, trade at 3, Reese Bailey, Styles 4, Love 5. If that happens, the Bears going to be a happy man.
So I just saw right now someone has the 5th pick in the draft right now up, and it is Sonny Styles 1, Jordyn Tyson 2. Absolutely not. I just wagered on this. Actually, I was trying to wager on the sanitary thing in the world to see what I could get for Styles going 4 overall. I just hit Tyson over 8.5 at plus money. What are we, guys? This guy was like 2 weeks ago, not a first-round pick.
Agent's doing some work, man.
Now he has a good pro day, and all of a sudden he's a top 8 pick. I always get these wrong. Over means that he's going to go 9 or lower, right? Like
Correct.
9, 10. Okay. Sammy, this happened the other day. I lost a wager doing this incorrectly the other day in golf.
I think you just said it wrong again. If you go over 8.5 to win the bet, it's got to be 9 or higher.
9, 10, 11, 12,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yes.
Yeah. So I said it correctly. I think he's not going the top 8. Not going the top 8. Yeah.
You confuse me though sometimes.
I was wrong. I made a Patrick Reed wager.
I always try to remember under, before, over, after.
Right. And I messed this up with a Patrick Reed wager for the Masters. Nonetheless, I was trying to fade his overall position. I thought I was taking 13 or like under 13. So I said under. I said below 13, 14, 56. I did that. Doesn't matter. Jordyn Tyson's not going 5th overall. Like that's just, it's silly talk to me. I think look, again, think about how the draft will break down. I actually think Caleb Downs at 5 is a real possibility because you're going to not at 10, you're unlikely to get an impact defensive player that fits the Giants right now, right? You have enough pass rushers. You don't need that. Downs might be gone by then. Styles is gone by then. If you take Downs at 5, okay, at 10, you're going to get Tyson at 10, Tate at 10, maybe like an offensive lineman at 10. I think the Giants, if it breaks down the way we think it might go, I think 5 is really a spot for Caleb Downs much earlier than we think if the Giants go that direction.
You can start taking shots around 4 or 5 too, I think. I mean, you can get, and the prices are very rangy. For example, I got 3 books up. Downs is plus 400, plus 450, plus 550. And it's the same bet, I assure you. You just get a better payout if you bet the right number. I agree, though, on the whole Tyson smoke. Can you imagine John Harbaugh gets to New York and the first pick of his regime is a wide receiver who's always hurt? I can't. It just doesn't make any sense. I hope it's Love. Love seems to fit. But, you know, when you think about Harbaugh, you think about offensive line play, defensive line play, run the football. If Love fell to 5, I think John Harbaugh would do a backflip in the office there. That's what I think.
I agree with you. And the other thing, which, Jeff, you just mentioned about the sudden, move for Jordyn Tyson, is he going to be the number 1 wide receiver now? I mean, Carnell Tate was super long to be the number 1 wide. I think he was north of $3, and now he was. I think it's like minus 165 or 170. Yeah. Like that is taking a hit. If you're taking a wide receiver, aren't you? I'm taking Carnell Tate, a guy that's been in a productive program. He's been healthy for a while, like the Ohio State wide receiver lineage. I'm taking Tate ahead of Tyson. I don't know what you think.
I would, but I'm also not like, the Browns at 6, maybe. I don't know. I'm not one of those teams. I'm not the Saints at 8. I mean, obviously, I think that's what we would do because it makes the most sense to take the guy who's healthy. But teams might fall in love. They might fall in love with it. I'd be shocked if he went that high. I mean, there's a reason why he was so far down, right? And now all of a sudden popping back up. So I just don't buy Tyson going this high. If I was the Browns at 6, I think I would take offensive line and maybe Tate. Like those are my 2 options essentially, and then worry about wide receiver at 24. But I just don't see Tate go. Maybe he goes 8 to the same. I guess the idea is what if Tate is gone at 6, then it's at 8. The Saints are going to go Tyson, but you have Delane just staring you in the face if you're the Saints at 8. I don't think an injured wide receiver is going to go that high. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I bet against it, so we'll see how it goes.
I hope it's Tate. I have some Tate under 7.5. That's minus 105, at least at DraftKings it is. Other books are a little bit more expensive, minus 120. Again, please get the best price because all these books have different liabilities. Aside from him being a Chicago kid, which I always love, 6'2", 200, runs incredible routes. And you look at most people's big board, he's either 5 or 6 on most. So when you get to that point, when you miss the home runs early, the top 3 picks, or in this case, maybe top 2 picks, a lot of teams, 5, 6, 7, will just go best available. And it masks for me. You also have the Browns who do need receivers. They need weapons. And look, the Commanders need weapons too. Outside of Terry McLaurin, they're like Luke McCaffrey is starting at the other receiver. So they need help, but you might have this run on wide receivers. I know, Bear, you like receivers over in the first round. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that Tate's going to go under 7.5, but that one year, the Olave year, the Garrett Wilson year, it just takes that first one to go, and then you get domino rally because teams that wanted guy A now have to settle for guy B. So I'm hopeful that somebody at 6 or 7 either goes best available or somebody trades up to take Carnell Tate.
I think Tate to the Commanders is something that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Remember, they had a lot of success with another Ohio State wide receiver, Terry McLaurin. Yeah, I think giving Jaden Daniels another weapon there is a very smart pick and something that would make sense. But you mentioned the one bet. Like, there are so few bets out there now that you'll be able to find close to like the 110, -110, -120 plus range that are really, really good, solid bets. And you got to lay 155 on over 5.5 wide receivers in the first round. But I think they're going to be 6. I obviously, Denzel Boston would be the kid that it would be that 6, but he's got good size. I think a team in the back end of the first round, a competing team, would love to have a red zone type weapon like him who can go up and make those contested catches. We're definitely getting 5. I think we're going to get 6. So I laid 155 and over 5.5 receivers in the first round.
The wide receiver group. So it's basically what ended up being Tate, Tyson, Lemon, Concepcion, Boston, and then one more, right?
Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper. Yes, I think Cooper feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler. That feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler to me. Yeah, look, the back end of the first round. If the teams stay put, it makes sense for the Chiefs, the Bills. Like, there are teams at the back of that round there that could go wide receiver here. There's sort of a cutoff, a cliff of where like the end of the wide receivers are. I have this one as well. I took this earlier a couple weeks ago. I think it's certainly in play here. Over offensive players was at 15.5, like -110 3 days ago, 4 or 5 days ago. It's now like 16.5. It's a great. I think there's a lot of offensive players, Sammy, in this draft. I think we're going to heavy offensive first round.
I'd like to bring up an offensive player, if I may. Bear, take the baton for
Please.
a second.
Go right ahead.
Mauigoa. Obviously, we saw the report from Schefter that he has a herniated disc. But then in the same report, it's not that serious. It's not significant. It's not an issue right now. But it could be an issue down the road. And you're like, all right, I read that, and I'm more confused than I was before I read the report. He's a top 5 pick if he's healthy. We know that. But because of that report, his over-under has now bloated up to 8.5. Now, if everybody passes on him, I'm going to lose this bet. But as a guy who watched a ton of Miami this year, Bear, wink, wink, and you did too, there was not a soul that could stop that guy on the right side of the line. So I guess I'm sort of buying the dip, because this number 2 months ago, if he's healthy, is like 4.5 or 5.5 maybe. Now it's 8.5. He's over 3-1 to be a top 5 pick. I ask you guys, like, is this smoke real? Like, is the back that bad? Or is there some theatrics going on here?
Well, Bear can answer about the back. I don't have inside information.
It never kept him out of the lineup at Miami. I can tell you that. What I do worry about there with that number, in terms of like the number 8.5, like, if the Browns don't take him at 6, I wouldn't expect Washington to take him at 7, and I don't think the Saints would take him at 8. Do you, Jeff?
No. They took Banks last year. They need wide receiver, cornerback.
So yeah, that's what would worry me. And I think the Browns want someone that can play tackle, and I think a lot of people may also view CC as an interior guy and move him to guard, which isn't bad. But again, do we just throw out? It does seem like a year though, where we throw out everything we know about like what we thought we know. Oh, you can't take a safety in the top 5 or 6. You can't take a running back that high. You can't take an interior lineman this high. The NFL is cyclical, and like, just at some point, maybe you just kind of take the best player and the biggest need that you have, and I will be rooting for you. But I'm a little concerned that there just might not be a logical landing spot for him in the top 8 if he gets past Cleveland.
Oh, I'm concerned too. I made that bet and went, it's probably a loss. But at the same time, it's sort of like buyback. Like when people bet over 51 in a football game and it gets to 54, guys will come in the other way. So, I mean, several guys had a mock 3rd as of a week or two ago. So now it's, okay, well, he's 8 or 9. Now he's out of the top 10. I just watched him dominate so much. And I go back to, who was the Texas Tech kid? Tyree Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Where he had a bad boot coming into the draft. Oh, he's going to slide. He's not top 10. He went 7th. because the Raiders were like, all right, we'll take him. Like, we'll deal with all this. Just takes one. Maybe I need somebody to get desperate and trade up to take this 6'6", 330-pound monster and plant him on the line for the next 10 years.
Pro ready can be.
Yeah, seriously.
So here's my thought on this. The Browns at 6 tend to opt for like ideal height, weight, numbers, attributes for positions. That's like it's sort of the analytic way, right? Like here's the model for what we have for this position. They tend to draft that position. That leads me to believe they're not drafting a pure right tackle or guard at 6. I just, if they stay at 6 and draft offensive lineman, that's my concern, guys. That's why there's been smoke about Caden Proctor, who's a ginormous human being who's playing tackle in the NFL. He could play guard as well. Or Freeling. Freeling is the purest left tackle type player. He's not ready to play quite yet. He's not maybe as good as Francis or not as good as Fano, but he projects to play left. Like he comes in and plays left tackle in minicamp, first rep, right, Bear? Like that's why I think those two guys are live to go 6. I gave you guys Proctor a month ago, 25-1. I think what happened was it was 35-1. Sam mentioned game limit earlier, and the sportsbook was offering me $9 on it. So I went and got another sportsbook at a better price, 25-1, not better price. Got more money down on that at a worse price because I wasn't given. Sammy one time told me, he said, don't give them your action. Just don't even do the $9. Just don't give it to them. So I listened to him. Got 25-1 on Proctor to go 6 overall. I think the Browns go Proctor or Freeling if they go offensive line at 6. That's just my take on those guys.
I'm pulling for you, man. Big time. That's a big pop. Even though it's a little bet, that's a big pop.
If I could get that 25-1, I mean, I gave Randy that 2 months ago too. So it does feel like Browns going offensive line though. That feels like if they stay at 6, that they're going offensive line.
Other little bits of information that I have heard and encountered, it looks like Ruben Bain's floor is 12 to Dallas. That could be a match made. I think you can get him at a good price to go exactly number 12. In terms of players that are sliding, McCoy, the defensive back from Tennessee, I've heard he's got some very shaky and concerning medicals. Jeremiah McCoy, cornerback, I think he could potentially be a very good over candidate at his position, maybe to have a yes/no on the first round. That could be something as well. So those are two other names that I have heard about a potential position. I don't know if you guys have got any other rumblings.
Just Ty Simpson. Where does he go? The number is 24.5, which seems a little low. And then you look at his market to go in the first round, and he's about minus 200. I don't think he's first round good, but Jeff, teams get quarterback crazy, and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, teams might trade up. It sounds like he's a first round pick, but the current number 24.5, I did nothing with it. I don't even want to do anything with it, but I think it's a number that's a little bit too low.
Well, Bear and I both have the quarterbacks over 1.5 quarterbacks in the first round, so that's a much better number than the ones you're giving out. So that's what I think he's a first round pick. I think teams just Bear made the point last podcast, great point. Jets had the first pick of the second round. Teams might jump ahead of him to get right now Pittsburgh has no quarterback. They have no quarterback, right? Arizona, their quarterback Jacoby is holding out right now because he wants more money. The Jets don't. Who's Geno? That's their. Someone will convince themselves Tyson Smith is the guy. Tyson Smith is the guy. So I think he's going the first round. I don't know where exactly. Maybe a surprise team pops up and makes it happen. But I think Simpson's going the first round.
And that's the other with Simpson. Is the team like the Rams a surprise team? Is he the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford? Now, do you take him at 13? I don't know. Maybe some of these guys that we were talking about, maybe someone slides, one of the receivers slides, or down slide, whoever it could be, slides, and the Rams are able to trade back a couple of picks and take Ty Simpson. I know that there have been discussions connecting the Rams to Simpson. It would be a really good situation where he can come in, sit for a year, not play until Stafford decides to retire. But again, I would just assume, and Jeff and Sammy, you're both college football guys. You know that with NIL and the portal, a lot of instances, there's some ridiculous amounts of money being thrown around. For Ty Simpson to turn that money down and go to the NFL leads me to believe that there is some first round match out there somewhere, whether it's the Rams, whether it's the Cardinals, whether it's the Jets at the top or somebody getting in front of the Jets. I think he's going to go in the first round.
What if there's a surprise team? Like, what if like the Dolphins just love Ty Simpson? They just like, they're just like, he's got to be our guy. You know, we have Willis for 1 year. Well, like there could be a team out of nowhere.
Sure.
That we think is like, you know, they're out on a quarterback, but you know, their quarterback has 1 year left on his deal. And
no one thought Michael Penix was going to be the Atlanta Falcon.
Correct. So I think like there's always that option at some point in the first round, or someone to trade back in the first round. Like, what if, I'm just throwing, these are just, of course, like, you know, what if the Lions love Ty Simpson and Goff is on the final legs of his deal? They trade back in the first round. Like, there's just, you can make yourself these scenarios, obviously, around the NFL, enough to where I think he goes in the first round. So I like my over 1.5 quarterbacks in the first round. As
for the bets that we could give out, I mean, we've been texting about bets for weeks now. As for the bets that we can give out on this show, I've got 3 of them. Love over 4.5. I hope he goes 5 Bears, so you hit your top 5. Tate under 7.5, and I'm gonna fade the smoke on Mauigoa under 8.5 with a small bet on him to be top 5 at about 3-1.
I made one college football playoff bet yesterday when I sojourned up to Massachusetts to bet the over 5.5 wide receivers. I put together a 3-legged to make the college football playoff. You can parlay them at FanDuel. It counts as listed as a same game parlay, plus 117 on Notre Dame to make the college football playoff, Miami to make the college football playoff, and Oregon to make the college football playoff. Those the 3 yeses, plus 117. I've said I believe that the winner of the Miami Notre Dame game is going to finish undefeated and be the number 1 team in the country. I think the loser, there's a really good chance that is the only loss for that team. And then Oregon, a team that very easily could be preseason number 1 as well. They got to go to Columbus this year, right, Jeff? But other than that, a very manageable Big Ten schedule. So 3 teams that very easily are going to be in the preseason top 5 to make the college football playoff. 117. Sign me up.
I mean, I think Oregon's gonna make the playoffs, so that feels like it's
you sure?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, this is like championship or bust season, man. Everyone came back. The only thing is we play like 8 straight weeks with no bye, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do about it?
Unless you guys got any other bets for the public, I'm gonna wrap this bad boy up. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Thanks again. Rate, review, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. Podcasts. Remember, less you bet, more you lose when you win.